Hello there. I'm going to be going over the Hellfire Apocalypse run with a more budget comp than what was required to get SSS. The gear is still not budget, but at least this gives a reasonable roster that can be completed and filled in fairly easily. Actually, before I actually get into this, right, let's go over here. Some of the actually genuinely good champions for this are, well, Har's, quite obviously, because he's a Northerner Lord. And, funnily enough, most of the tanks are just all Northerners. So, if you fill in, you can fill in pretty much a whole team with just Northerners, and Har's makes this absolutely disgustingly good. Gon is actually fairly great. He scales his defense, and he also has an ultimate that increases his block and physical reduction. Reggie is not that good. He doesn't have any particular ult that actually truly helps. He kind of has some defense increase, so he will probably be better than a lot of the epics, but not some of them. Tordor just kind of does some stuns, and I don't believe he has anything else, just does some defense reduction. It's basically just the stuns. So Tordor is not ideally the best option. Reeve is presumably fantastic because of his stuns, which means that essentially when he's doing an ult, he makes sure that he survives himself, but he doesn't have any additional block. But he is very present in some of the top teams, because technically if you're stunning everything, then that means you don't even need to block, right? Say there's 10 of these things walking in, he can just stun all of them. Crodor is also fairly good. He has def scaling that will increase along the fight. He has extra block and again def scaling. He has an unkillable state. And he does, this is worthless. But point is, Crodor is also very strong, both because of his skills and passives and because he's a Northerner. Trusk is very, very, very good. He can go up to 6 blocks, scales his defense, etc. Orm is shit. No two ways around it. He's just a bad tank in general. And for this even more, Cyrus is pretty damn good with skeletons providing extra block and damage reduction to Cyrus. He is all around fairly good. Azor is also utter garbage. He will maybe do some single target stun, but whatever. Brockier is Brockier. He's fairly good, but he doesn't bring anything else besides just being a good tank. Still valuable, but just, you know, not fantastic. I did try to mess around with Constance a bit, with her exclusive, without her exclusive. I did not find a good way to get a reasonable score with her. She just dies too easily. She's kind of a tissue paper in terms of tanking. I have no idea about Edith, honestly. She kind of does some weird stuff with the Equinagus. Probably reduces a little bit of damage, yeah, kind of, but whenever she does take damage, which is consistent in this codex, she will lose her stacks, her debuffs. She can push stuff back, I guess, but that's really all she does. Baron is fairly good. He has a solid shield, and he has unkillable. That's really all you really want. Titus, we'll go over it a little bit more, but Titus is pretty damn good. He tanks fairly well, and more importantly, he heals himself, both with a passive and with his ultimate. Livian has integrated damage reduction. She heals herself. She is overall pretty damn good. Olague is Olague. I'm not even gonna get into this. Olague is great. Marielle is probably sharing the same problem as Constance. I haven't tried her, but she's probably going to die quickly and not bring much value. Aveline provides extra block normally? Yeah, no, wait. Is it her Awakenings? Something provides extra block with her, doesn't it? No, maybe not. Maybe she just has crazy good defense. Am I tripping? Hold up. Hold up. Block 4. No, there we go. She has a base block of 4. So that's pretty good. That means that with an Olague's ring, she can get up to 5. Isolde just has her ultimate, really. I do not believe that she doesn't have more block at all. She's still at 3 on base. She does have an ultimate that gives her 1 more block, some damage reduction, and she is a Northern Lord. So if you don't have a legendary Northern Lord, just basically always integrate her. Ardeth is just bad. That's just not much around it. Whatever Skelly Boy's name is not great either. And Draga, which is somehow an epic that I do not have at all. Again, not great. So those are basically the options that you do have for this, and I'm going to go back to actually doing the run. And we're kind of going to dive right into it. We'll go over the gear afterwards. But we're essentially going to want a few things here. So if we take a look at our team and setup here, we're going to want Olague on the front line because Olague tanks very well. We're going to want, say, Titus on a front line because Titus tanks fairly well. And then it gets a little bit more tricky. We're probably going to want an Isolde because Isolde will be tanking fairly well. And a Livian here. And then this side will probably leak a bit more than the left side, so we're going to place an Aveline down here and a Baron down here. Actually, I messed this up, didn't I? Apologies. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to start by our weaker units here. We're going to want Aveline here, Baron here. That way they will be able to try to block each other's units that are leaking through. And maybe we want to balance out a bit more the extra sources of block, but honestly it shouldn't matter too much. There we go. Come on. There we go, and there we go. And now we're kind of just going to fast forward this and ignore all this, basically entirely this initial stage, because the initial stage is pretty much worthless. And once more, gear plays a massive factor here. Being able to have Guardian or Tempered Will sets with good stats will make a world of a difference. And making sure that every single one of your tanks does have a Bastion Ring. Because if they do not, they will kind of just get walked all over. And they will leak units right off the bat. Which is absolutely terrible, because then the boss starts gaining damage quicker, and we just end up dying much, much sooner. So here we're going to start actually using our extra block ults on Olague. And we're gonna save it on Isolde because we already kept that extra block with Olague at the top, so we're gonna try to alternate between the two. You can see Livian surviving very well over here and actually dishing out some stuns, which is pretty much exactly what we wanted from her. Here we're gonna block with Isolde. Aveline is just finishing her wave when the new wave shows up. Baron is starting to take a little bit of damage, but, you know, all things considered, it's okay. Olague, we're going to ult again. Baron, for now, is still fine. He is, as far as I can tell, currently the weaker version. I didn't run this before. I just kind of slapped gear on people and went with whoever I had was best in terms of purely using epics. Titus is just basically not budging over there. We're going to pop a shield on Baron, just so he has some time to regain some HP. And we don't have anyone on the right side that can use an ult to gain extra block. We will be using Isolde's ult, however, because there's a big wave coming in. Aveline will get those two down roughly when we need it to, and then now, starting basically now, we're going to leak. There's that one guy that's going to leak through, and there's probably one from the right side as well. And this is where it starts to kind of fall apart when you're running mostly epics, because they can't keep up. They just don't have enough extra block options. But we're still already at a good solid S, and we will get probably 1 or 2 more waves out of this. Titus is starting to take some damage up there, so we want to keep an eye on that. Livian is starting to take some damage as well. I think we can still hold Titus's ultimate. And Livian is down. So, not great. Not great at all. She probably could have warranted some better gear on her. I had somewhat more hope that she would survive a little bit longer with how I set her up, but again, we're still already at an SS, which I will take as mostly a win here. Can probably get an SS plus out of this, even with the premature deaths. Isolde ultimate. Aveline is just getting absolutely swarmed up there, or down there, or on the right, or whatever. Olague will be ready for one more extra block. Titus definitely did not need gear that well. Aveline probably could have used some better gear, as well as Livian. So if I had to make some adjustments here, I would probably figure out what Olague currently has and move some of his better gear onto one of these 2 units. And then definitely remove Titus's gear, which I think currently he's running one of my Tempered Will sets, and make sure that one of the 2 who died gets that set. Because, yeah, Darkfire Purification is being cast, which means we are going to get wiped right about now. There we go. But still, right, that's an SS plus run with, you know, only epics, throwing in some legendaries with some good sets will work well. Of course, they are all A5, and this is with good gear, but the point is more to showcase possible examples of rosters, and I really don't have a good way of entirely nerfing my team. And like I said, right, this was the first try. I could probably get this team working a lot better. I just don't particularly care for min-maxing something that's not even increasing my score. As it's, again, more of a showcase. Anywho. Wait, actually the gear. The gear. Which, if you have watched the other one, is the other Codex video I did where I did the high score, is basically the same gear. So Isolde is in some Guardian, which I believe, yeah, this one is focused HP. She has a good Bastion ring. Olague has a crummy Bastion ring with a Guardian set. Mostly HP again, I believe. Yeah, it's just full flat-out HP. Aveline has 1 defense piece and a crummy Bastion ring, and that's probably where the biggest upgrade needs to happen, is that Bastion ring. Titus had a Tempered Will set, which is good, and a maxed Bastion ring, so we definitely did not need both of those things. Livian definitely would have benefited from a better Bastion. I believe would probably be the best way to go, and possibly 1 more HP piece here instead of defense, but I would have to actually test that out to be confident. I've had some tanks survive longer with 2 defense. I've had mostly the ones that actually start scaling defense, so people like Gon, probably even Aveline will work better with 2 defense just because she has this permanent def increase. And then champs like Olague, who have very strong shields that are up consistently, will probably do significantly better with HP. Some others, like Livian, it's kind of a crapshoot. You would need to test that and actually determine it. I'm fairly confident that... I believe that 1 defense, 2 HP will probably be the best, but I could be wrong. It really depends what she's dying to. Most of the time, though, they do die to the ads, which are all dealing physical. And that extra defense helps reduce that damage by a significant margin. And she's in just some defense gear with, yeah, 2 defense rolls and 1 HP, but again, a crappy Bastion Ring. I think I already did her gear too, and I'm just rambling and getting distracted, and Baron had my other Tempered Will set with a partially leveled Bastion Ring. So that's about it. Cheers. You have a nice one.